Bosh. Hello. Let's get into some analysis then. Okay, so first things we're going to do is we're going to look through the results and see the journeys. Big up Dire Pants, coming in with a sub early on. So the journey for both these teams, Vitality coming in as number 1 seed, got Elevate early on. Elevate, fair play to them, played well, pushed them. Best we've ever seen an APAC team. Complexity, now this game, let's be honest, could have completely changed the whole tournament. If they'd gone down, who did they played? Nip, then Rule 1. Okay, so I would say that's... I mean, I back Vitality to be alright at that point, but let's be honest, they underperformed in their first crowd game, so that was the first real big underperformance from them, and that was at that stage. But this could have gone a whole different way if AJG had scored that. So Vitality make it through to the upper bracket semi-final. They play BDS. BDS, first team to beat them and only team to beat them at the event. They go down, slap Gen G, closest 4-0 I've ever seen in Rocket League. You see all of them going to OT except for the last game where it was probably knackered from that big 12-minute OT. I've got a video which you can check out of me analysing that long overtime game there. But Rule 1, I'd say, probably looked one of the strongest teams as a structure against Vitality. They were the only team, I think, that could really keep Vitality locked up as a structure, but they lacked that mechanical flair and risk-taking ability to be able to score, which is why they ultimately failed to score enough goals, which you can see here. And then Carmine Court Vitality, really close series, you know, went the distance. A lot of close one-goal games, could have gone either way. And then this final, we're going to be analysing this. We're obviously not going to watch every single game. Big up Cole and Stumpy, casting their first ever LAN final in RLCS. And this was the point where we started to see Vitality really hot up. They had the crowd behind them, thanks to Farah, and it really hotted up on that side. As for BDS, they had one of the toughest brackets, the toughest runs of any team in a LAN. Going through that upper bracket. We often talk about the gauntlet in the lower bracket, like when Queso did it last year in the Winter Major. But on this occasion, they played Gen G first round. Gen G made top 6. They played Rule 1 next round. Rule 1 made lower bracket semi-finals, so top 4. They played Vitality in the upper bracket semi-final, who won the whole event. Then they played Carmine Corp in the top. So they literally had the hardest possible upper bracket run you could have. So fair play to BDS for that whole run. It was well earned making it to the final, but they just ran out of steam in that final. And we're going to have a little look through the stats. This is what we always do. For anyone who's new to my analysis, we go through the results, the journey, the story. Of course, you guys know the squads. I don't need to go into details on those. If you're not sure, we'll get to know them throughout this analysis. And then I like to look at the stats. The reason why I look at the stats is because you can learn a lot from the stats. Now, with these stats, I had a little brief look through them before the stream earlier, and we got a lot of interesting information. So first off, we will just have a look at the overall stats. These are the stats I'm sure you're all quite familiar with. Some big ones here to look out for, I think, is Zen as a whole has unbelievable stats here. So lots of points. Oh, that's not a very nice colour. Let's get a nicer colour. Lots of points. 1 goal per game. 0.5 assists per game and 1.8 saves per game. So in their team, the only thing that was better was Alpha with assists, but like and Alpha with shots. But you can see Alpha's kind of like the disruptive setup player, where Zen is the one who's scoring the goals, making the saves, and like the shooting percentage from both Radosin and Zen is unbelievable. So I just thought it was interesting to look at that because this is incredible stat line for Zen here. And then on the other side, I think it's important to note Monkey Moon did not have a good final. Really low shooting percentage from him, really struggling to score, and just low points. Like Monkey Moon is known as a bit of a points grinder. He often gets high on those like top 10 players of an event chart because he's so good at accumulating points. But I think with the way they were playing, it was really hard for Monkey Moon to play. And I think there was a lack of trust in the way they were playing, which we'll see when we go through the gameplay in a bit. As for boost, now this is where it gets really interesting. I hate the fact that you can't order it by team. I think if we order it like this, yeah, there we go. That'll order it by team. So you can see the category that I've ordered it by here has ordered it by team, and that's because when it came to big pads, all of Vitality were higher on the big pads. They were completely dominating the big pads, which forced BDS to have to be more small paddy. It also forced lower average amounts out of BDS, which you can see. I mean, even for Alpha and Zen, who typically are in the high, well, I say high, like between 50 and 55, I would say is high average amount for a player. And you typically see 1 or 2 per team who have that amount, and then 1 who doesn't. On the strongest teams. And in Vitality, it's typically Radosin who's on the lower amount, which you can see here, Alpha and Zen on higher amounts. But even in the final here, you can see that Zen and Alpha were lower than they typically are. This can go as high as 55 for both of them. So a very like boost hungry game from everybody involved. And I think that just comes down to the nerves. It was a lot of boost use while supersonic from everybody, you can see here in this column. But it's also just in general like a high boost per minute from all of the Vitality players. They were obviously zooming and feeling it, but I think everyone using a lot of boost per minute because it was a very fast-paced game, which you'll see when we go onto the speed. And I think also with nerves, the first thing that tends to disappear for people is their ability to control their boost. Because when you're under pressure, the last thing you want to do is over save on boost and not go for the ball because of it, or get beaten to the ball because of it. So Vitality went for a very boost-heavy approach, which meant that BDS were not very comfortable when it came to boost, and some of the decisions, which we'll see in the gameplay analysis, led them to overcommit, and then consequently, they didn't have the time to recover and get boost, and so had to go via pads. So yeah, boost, definitely an interesting one here. Let's see, positioning. I think this category here will organize them by Vitality, yep. Again, like this is what I'm saying is how extreme the differences are in the two teams. We can organize just by a single category, one that I typically highlight as an important category for success, and we can compare the two teams. So percentage behind the ball is one of my favorite stat categories now, having looked at a lot of Rocket League. And typically, now some teams are atypical with the way they position, but typically teams that are solid teams that rotate in a solid way, not the kind of bump heavy teams or the teams that have a particularly unorthodox strategy, they tend to have a high percentage behind the ball. And also when teams underperform, their percentage behind the ball tends to go down. And the reason being, two people are about to interact with the ball. The person who wins the interaction is still going to be behind the ball, and they're also going to be pushing the ball forward. And with territory, they're more likely to put you position behind the ball. And also, if you recover fast, you're going to be behind the ball more often. If you keep the ball in your opponent's half, you're going to be behind the ball more often. All that kind of stuff. But even when like right here, we can see where the ball was on the pitch, and where the players were on the pitch. It's very much more in the BDS half. You can see like this is around the 50% mark in percentage defensive third, where for Vitality it's like 42, 43. And the same kind of thing could be seen in the halves versus the thirds. It's very much like more in BDS's half. So that's going to lean towards more behind the ball. But this is more than just that effect, right? So Zen plays very far behind the ball. He rotates back always, very willing to not go, wait for his teammates to create chaos, especially Alpha in front of him. So he's typically around that 75 to 80%, and you can see he's quite high on that on this time. And both Radosin and Alpha, 74% is still very high compared to the general population in Rocket League. Where on the other side, this is typical for Monkey Moon, around that, he's normally the highest in the team. But then Rise and Seiko, very low. Like they're typically, when they're playing well, they're typically just below 70%. And then Monkey Moon's more around like 75%. And that's their strategy, right? Rise in front of the ball, causing chaos with bumps and stuff. And then Seiko upfield, looking for redirects, looking for those touches. Often defends from upfield, flying back and doing that stuff. So that's typically how they go for that. Cade, yeah, just message me on Discord. I'll sort that out after the stream. Outside of that, you can see distance to the ball. This is another interesting one. So you can see that Vitality are all a lot more spread out. This was actually another category I could have separated them by. So their Vitality are all more spread out, where BDS are a lot closer to the ball. Again, that can be but if you're on defense more, this can be accentuated, because when you're in defense, you tend to be closer to the ball and bunched up, where the attacking team, when you're on defense, is more spread out. They're going towards the midfield boost and rotating back in. So this could be a symptom of being in defense a lot as well. But in general, this column here is a big indicator here of what's going on. Let's have a look in this last category. Now, this is really interesting because this might be one of the fastest paced games of Rocket League I've ever seen. Now, Liquid are one of the fastest teams in Rocket League, and this is getting close to Liquid level of speed. The only player below 1600 is Monkey Moon, right? Which is crazy because that's... I mean, this is very typical of Monkey Moon. You know, a lot of people describe Monkey Moon as like the most consistent player, and like he always seems to just come out with the same stats. I know he mentioned his core stats are a bit off, but his movement speed and everything like that tends to be very consistent. Just has a very solid game plan. And then you can see Radosin around 1650, Zen around 1650, Alpha around 1650. So as a team, they're all moving so fast. And it's they're moving at this speed here, percentage boost speed and higher. So they're not very often at slow speed, which I think is the biggest factor. It just means that they were just constantly moving, constantly ready for the play. And what you'll notice here as well is their percentage grounded is all very good too. Like 55 is around a good spot. I mean, everyone in the lobby is at a pretty good grounded level. But like when they're moving this fast and this close to supersonic whilst also being this grounded, that's really good. But yeah, you can see this actually is one of the best stat areas for everyone in the lobby. Like everyone's moving fast, everyone's staying grounded, nobody's like flying too much and all that kind of stuff based off of the stats here. Everyone's power sliding a bit except for Monkey Moon and Radosin, but that's more just because of the way they move. It's nothing too deep. But yeah, you can just see the whole thing here looks pretty even. So the biggest factor in my opinion is the positioning and the boost columns stats, because they showed a lot there. So I think it's time we just go into some replays. So I think we'll just go to like quite an early replay. Let's have a look. I think this one here was the one where Radosin saved it, I believe. Now I really want to have a watch of this one because I think this was quite indicative of Radosin's like mental struggles. So I mean, how often in this final did Vitality get a goal within the first 30 seconds? It was so frequent. But I want to watch in this game the Radosin accidental self-save, because I think it might have been the point where we saw tilt from Radosin and him underperform a little bit. But let's just talk about Vitality's team structure. Like, what are they aiming to do? So the main thing is we've got Alpha, who is just zooming, right? Like, Alpha is free to do what he wants. The whole game plan allows Alpha to pre-jump stuff, throw himself at everything, position very close to the play, and just be an absolute nuisance, which you can see a lot of right here. Like, he's given that ability to do that because Radosin and Zen alone at the back are capable of just recovering most situations. He's also very efficient in his movement, fast to recover when he needs to, and, you know, just generally like very mechanically annoying, right? Like he's just quick and like zoomy and annoying in that way, and we saw that with like the ceiling touches, the pre-jumps, and he also doesn't always rush. Like you saw there, like he does change his pace sometimes, which is key, because if he's able to change his pace, then it keeps the opponents guessing. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of when BDS were dominant during the online era into the full major. We had Mark by 8, right? And Mark by 8 kind of followed that effect of just being super fast, super annoying, a big old nuisance. But you can see moments like that, right? This is a prime example of excellent first man decision making. So in Rocket League we have three vague positions: first man, second man, and third man, and they kind of depend on whether you've got possession or you don't have possession. Now what you see here is Vitality are comfortable without possession, which is they focus on like resources, like having a lot of boost, which you'll see up above me, and also just focus on being in control of the play, right? So you can see here Alpha is comfortable with the idea of just booming this away and gaining a lot of territory, right? And the reason being because they've got very good first person decision making. Now as a first person, what your aim is to try and get the ball to your teammates. Either get the ball for yourself, get the ball to your teammates, make your opponents uncomfortable, and get back behind your teammates as soon as possible, right? You can see that perfectly here. Alpha forcing Rise to make a touch, doesn't even need to go for the ball, gets a bump, if he bumps Rise there, that's a goal, right? Like, he was so close to creating a goal without even going for the ball. And you see how quickly he's already back? Because he padded via those 3 on the way out, he's now got 36 boosts, so he doesn't actually need to rotate out. And that's where the just efficiency of Alpha means they can just constantly be a nuisance and constantly be in the face of the opponents. So it causes the opponents to rush. And you can see, like, how many of these touches for BDS, they just don't have the time to be able to make the decisions. So that's where Alpha's being so good in this, is creating that chaos, creating that nuisance. Now, Zen is similar when it comes to the efficiency, in the way that they try and keep their boost as high as possible and rotate out nice and fast. Now, Zen rotates back quicker than most players, right? That's why the percentage behind the ball stat was so high, because they're very frequently rotating out of the play. You can see, like, that very traditional opposite side of the pitch rotation, they're very frequently doing it, and, like, if there isn't a good play on the ball, they just don't go, right? And they instead try and find a better play, right? Find a better position. How can I be useful? Get out the play. And you see here, so the main thing I want you to watch with Zen is how little time Zen is out of the play, because every time they go, it's always a good option to go, right? They're very rarely going unless it's a good option, and that's where Alpha and Zen synergize so well. Is Alpha goes when it's bad to go sometimes, and Zen only goes when it's good to go. Now, I'm not quite sure what happened here. Seiko's caught him off guard a little bit. Is this a misunderstanding of where Alpha's going to be? Yeah, Alpha's cheated towards that mid boost, a little bit cheeky. Probably shouldn't have, and this is where, like, that Zen not going stuff, that's why most people wouldn't do what Zen does, because, like, unless you have full trust in your teammates, this position that Zen's in, most of the time, not going is a terrible idea, because you put so much trust then in your teammates behind you, right? But typically, that would be fine with the way Vitality play. And so this is where, like, having a team structure where at any given moment, one of you is comfortable to not go, that can be the most powerful thing. And, like, Zen just misread the situation. I don't know if it was a miscommunication. Like, Alpha should have been behind him at this point, but Alpha's snuck towards that mid boost, maybe called it late, and Radosin and Zen have both overcommitted and done first person roles together, right? So both of them have gone for the not go for a bump play, and Seiko has punished them for that. So one touch by Seiko's taking 2 players out of the game. So yeah, this is what we're saying about the, like, individual ability of the BDS players to just convert very simple situations into goals. Like, they play off people's mistakes very well. So yeah, very good stuff there from Seiko, but you can see where just that one lapse in judgment from Vitality goes against them. So yeah, let's just watch Zen a little bit more. So the whole thing is Zen tries to find himself in powerful positions. So for those of you who are familiar with the 7 pillars of option coverage that I use to teach my students, and I've explained it on my YouTube channel, the whole idea being that at any given moment you want to have as many things in your favor as possible to increase your options. Zen kind of hits all of them. So one being boost, just look at the versatility. One being boost, you see how often Zen is at 100 boost. 2 being momentum, very frequently Zen is in a position ready to go as the ball comes to him. So, like, he doesn't just, you know, like, turn on the spot. He always seems to have the right amount of momentum towards the play at the moment it's there. The next one is teammates, knowing where your teammates are to be able to finish your plays. So sometimes you see when Zen ends his plays, he goes in favor of his teammates rather than just trying to score. Positioning, always in a really dangerous position to pounce on the ball, reading the play well, that kind of stuff. Always pretty grounded, that's another one of the 7 pillars, and tends to find ways to integrate their dodge into their mechanics, whether it be through flip resets, whether it be off of a surface, whether it be holding it from the single jump, utilizing all those things. And then, of course, mechanics is one of the 7 pillars, and Zen just uses those perfectly. So Zen finds himself in 7 pillars power positions. What a save, monkey. Where they have all of the benefits of those 7 pillars in their favor. And those positions are created through Alpha's disruption and Radosin filling the gaps. Now, Radosin doesn't get enough love, right? Radosin is an underrated player, as is pretty much every third player on a team where everyone talks about the other two more than they talk about the one. Same thing was true with Extra back on BDS and so on and so on. So let's have a little watch of Radosin for a bit. And so Radosin's much more like an Itachi role. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Itachi is willing to just keep in the play, keep close to the play, keep boosting towards the play, and just keep that sort of like disruptive nature with them, where when they 50 the ball, they're comfortable with the idea of 50ing it towards a teammate, right? On this occasion, this again seems like the times when they've conceded in this game have both been when Zen and Radosin are upfield. But yeah, Alpha's just turned a bit too close and Seiko's punished again. But the whole idea with Radosin here, it's the right idea, right? Which is, like, if they 50 this well, it goes back to BDS. So instead they've decided to disrupt the ball so that it pops out loose for potentially a teammate to come get it. And in this situation, Alpha's just timing a little bit off, which you can see is a mismanagement of positioning at some point in the past. So like, Radosin's idea here was correct. It's just a shame that Radosin picked up that back boost, right? Oh, they didn't pick it up. When did that back boost disappear? Did they pick it up? No. When did that back boost go? So Zen took it then. Yeah, Zen probably didn't need to get this back boost here. But yeah, like it's easy to say that in hindsight. But yeah, you can just see Alpha's misread of the whole play when they went back to go get that back boost when it wasn't there has led Radosin's decision here to be incorrect. Because realistically, Alpha should be hitting that ball now. And then that would be where what Radosin just did was genius, right? Because he's lost the ball deliberately behind him. When you go for 50-50s, and this is what Itachi does beautifully well, if you want to watch them do this, like one of the best players in the world at doing this, is when you 50 the ball, losing it backwards or to the side is often the best place to do it, because that's where your teammates are. And in this situation, Alpha was behind him. Zen has ball side rotated in this occasion, where maybe if Zen had rotated back down the middle of the pitch, it would have been a bit better. I guess they're chasing demos. But yeah, just like a little bit of a misdecision from Vitality. But you can see the way that they're winning is they're in control of how many opportunities they get. And the only times that BDS had a chance to score were through mistakes. We can see both the goals here were mistakes from Vitality. And what that means is that you get these games like these ones, 4-1, 5-1 games, which go heavily in favor of Vitality, right? Because the way they're playing is creating several opportunities per game, and the way BDS is playing is not creating as many opportunities. So let's watch this 5-1 and get an idea of that. So it's just little mistakes, little miscommunications from Vitality that are leading to their demise. So they're the ones who are in control of the series. Great read from Radosin. Radosin's literally created a goal. Like, how many people would talk about Radosin creating a goal here, right? Defends, double commit happens, and I'm pretty sure like Alpha wasn't too fussed here. Like, this is the whole thing. Like, with Alpha just going, it's just to force people to go. And like, look how much confidence they just have in Zen in space, right? Neither of them feeling like they have to rotate back. They just have full confidence in Zen. Loose ball. I tweeted about this. Loose ball, Zen, boost, scores goal, right? This is what Zen does. Convert situations into goals. And that's why Zen is so high in rank 2s, because like that's probably the most important place to practice this skill. And it's probably why Zen is so good at it, is because Zen spent so long grinding ranked to get prepped for RLCS. They're able to convert loose ball situations into goals, because that's what you need to be able to do in ranked. So let's have a little watch. So you see Radosin getting a bump there. So you can see as well at moments like this, if you look at the boost management, you can see like how Seiko right here, no boost. Where they're going to get it from? They can't really find a point to get boost. So you can see right now how the boost is just slowly disappearing for BDS. And like how they're just not able to keep up with the play. Where Vitality is so spread out and just so comfortable, they're always re-getting boosts. Again, like Zen on a loose ball, right? It's literally just Zen on a loose ball. They have to defend it, right? So that's where they just never got these opportunities to go rotate out and get some boost. Really nice play from Alpha. Make him uncomfortable. Nice idea from Rise, just couldn't quite find the slot on Monkey Moon. They're just taking players out of the game, like just one by one, just trying to work out ways to remove them from the play, right? And you can see here, just Zen is prowling on the edge of the pitch with 100 boost. Doesn't need to go. When he does go, though, it's impact touches, right? Just look at this. It's literally just like read. Alpha off the back corner. Like, this was so smart. They've drawn him up. Alpha off the back corner to Zen, up to Alpha. Radosin finishes it off. This is just such good play. And it is literally just because they're comfortable with not going, right? You see here, Zen doesn't feel the need to rush in and go. They're just chilling on the edge. Big clear from Seiko. Look at this point. Boost. Everyone's got lots of boost. But yeah, that first touch from Alpha is genius. But like, this is the whole thing, is that they don't overextend. They're willing to just wait, recover, read the play. Wait, recover, read the play. And then when they do, you can just see how much, like even just that aerial there from Radosin, right? Like, this is where mistakes happen on so many teams, because they don't have the boost themselves to finish off the play, right? But you can see how efficient Radosin is moving at speed, not wasting any boost, goes for a single jump aerial to finish that off. For those of you who haven't seen my BDS analysis, you'll know how important that is against a team like BDS, because they need to improve on that kind of stuff. But you can just see like every bit of efficiency, and even right, like here, Alpha. Look at how efficient all of these touches are. Enough boost to recover out of it, right? It's just all those tiny little details that add up. That first touch from Alpha, I think, probably was intentional, just based off of the situation he was in. I don't think when he collected the boost it was intentional. I think once he collected the boost and realized he was out of position, I think he went for it. Yeah, like, just see how, like, again, like here, just not overextending, right? Just waiting for the right moment. Like, wait for the mistake, get in position. Like, don't dive at stuff. They're just very calm, very patient. Whereas you can see on the other side, BDS is scrambling just because of the constant threat. Yeah, I think so too, Sinks. That was my my favorite play. Just the perfect team chemistry. Yeah, that was a perfect demonstration of team chemistry. What a first message from JJHH. And you see the difference here, right? So off this kickoff, right? Rise gets a touch. Zen just vibes in, right? And this comes with Zen's 1v1, his 2s, all that kind of stuff, right? He's just able to vibe here. Just full trust in his teammates that they're going to go through and challenge it. And that's what Alpha does best, right? And they can just go over and over again much more efficiently because they use much less boost. The most efficient person to go goes. And then consequently, they can just keep so much pressure on, right? And like, they don't feel the need to go, right? Like, look at how panicky, like Seiko right here. Look how panicky he is, right? So I don't know if anyone remembers back to the full major when I analysed BDS and I said Mark by 8 is like the fourth man, right? His constant pressure is like he's a fourth player because it means that the opponents feel like there's somebody there when they're not. Right, see this right here. That ball is blocking Alpha. So on this occasion, Seiko doesn't know if they're there. So what does Seiko do? Panics. And then Alpha just goes, okay, well, you can use a load of resources. I don't care. I've got... Look how much boost he's got. Just like happy to just rotate through the opponents. Might get a bump. It leads to a goal, right? Like this literally just comes back to that Alpha. This touch here. He's now a threat bumping, so Rise has to misposition, right? Like Rise definitely knows Alpha's behind him here, right? He's like, oh crap, Alpha's behind me. I've got to push across. Can't get bumped here. So then he's too close to the play, which then forces him into an uncomfortable position. Radosin goes up here. Follows up the ball. Threatens the block. Doesn't actually get it in the end, but Zen... Like, Zen is just chilling off the ball. 100 boost here. Yeah, you want to come close? Sure. And, like, from this point of view, we saw that from Rise's point of view. It looked like Rise was close to the play. But because the ball is coming towards Zen, if we switch over to, like, a flying camera here, you can just see how easy that is to win for Zen. And it's just the way they structure, the way they're moving. And Alpha has caused that with that initial touch, which is open up the space. And then, I mean, to be fair, that's a solid little finish there. Probably should have been saved by BDS, but BDS is scrambling, right? They're scrambling back. Oh, actually, Monkey Moon got bumped there. I think Seiko had no boost. Again, boost coming in is a problem. You can just see how it all adds up over and over again. I think we've had enough of this game because at this point it's probably just going to be garbage time. But let's go into another game here. Let's go bracket reset. So, let's see... Let's just watch this game here. And then I'll watch the final game and that'll be it. So let's have a little watch of BDS, right? Because BDS, we looked at the stats. We know what their main problem is that they spend too much time in front of the ball. They're not trusting in each other. That's more of like a observation I had on the day. Like, they don't trust each other. But let's talk a little bit about the rhythm of the teams, right? So we spoke about Vitality's rhythm and how Zen is very comfortable with the idea of not going. This goal was nuts, by the way. You didn't get to see it on the live broadcast, but there's some little wall dashes here, I believe, from Zen. Yeah, just look at how good that is. Like, bruh. Oh, I mislanded. That's fine. I'll just wall dash back towards the play and just, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's just unreal. Just everything he does unreal. Anyway, let's go back to BDS. So we know that the rhythm of Vitality is very good, right? Like, they get back behind the ball well. They don't overcommit. They're very, like, they take a lot of time up as individuals. They use the space well. Like, even just this stuff, sorry, just to go back. Like, even just this stuff here, right? So Zen's made a play, bosh. Ball goes across the opposite side of the pitch, Zen finishes play. Now, Radosin here, rather than rushing into the ball, takes up more time. Okay, like it's just a little bit more time by Radosin. Goes for a slightly slower option that's like a bit floatier. And like, I know Alpha missed this, and this was an amazing opportunity. I think he got ridiculed by XQC for this. So let's watch Alpha's point of view. This is what XQC said he could do. To be fair, I think Alpha thought Monkey Moon was hitting this. But to be fair to XQC, I reckon XQC could have scored that. I reckon XQC can score that. Easy peasy. Yeah. Yeah. Get him in. Get him in. Alpha's out the roster. XQC is the finisher that Zen needs to win games. But yeah, you can just see, like, look at how few options. Yeah, XQC wouldn't get faked there, exactly. That's right. So you can just, like, even just that is a huge indication of the differences between Vitality and BDS. Look at how scared Monkey Moon is at the prospect of conceding a goal right here from an Alpha touch. 30 boost because Alpha has flown for a ball, right? Now, you might think, oh yeah, but that's fine. He can just pad it back up or whatever, which is true. But why is he in this position originally? Not enough boost here. Recovers out. Goes across the other side. Look at where Rise is, right? So, let me just get... We are on borderless already. If I get the pen up, in this situation, Monkey Moon is out of the play, right? So you have... He did his first player thing over here, rotated across the pitch. Now, if you've got a good team strategy, this is a really good rotation, right? Cut across the middle of the pitch. You can bump anyone in the middle of the pitch if they're there, right? You can bump anyone in this zone. You get the opposite boost. And then, like, if we go from above... Ooh. You'll be coming in a really nice position here where you can, you can cover so many options, right? And even if, as you're coming along this line here, if the ball goes in this direction, you can even cover over there. So you cover a huge part of the pitch. So this rotation from Monkey Moon, very, very nice. The problem you've got now is that Seiko is defending alone against a loose ball, which Vitality have control over. And as you can see, they have a good amount of boost as a team, right? Wait, I say that. That was assumptions of me. I can't actually see. Yeah, they can. Like, I can't actually see the boost amounts above me on the way my monitor's set up right now. Is there a way I can change that so I can just about see it? Just because of the way the... Anyway, it is what it is. Maybe if I stretch that down a bit. Okay. Not quite. That'll do. I can just about see it now. Anyway. So you can see all of Vitality have a good amount of boost down here. They've got a loose ball in space, and they're going to be going against Seiko, who's on his own, right? So Monkey Moon is now scared, and he has to rush back. Now, what would have been different is if Rise was rotating back here, and then Seiko was here, right? Or something like that, or vice versa. But because of the rhythm, and this is where I'm not a big fan of the way Rise was playing in this final. I know it was working against other teams, and I know it might have been a specific thing from the finals. I didn't get a chance to see enough of BDS play because I only really watched on the Sunday. But from what I could see with BDS's game plan on the Sunday, is Rise's rhythm was too quick after the first person. So if your first person goes and your second person comes in straight after, it creates situations like this, where if it goes wrong, your opponents then have possession, boost, and one player to deal with. And then this is where what we see is, let's go to Seiko's point of view, is this, right? Where Seiko is now alone. And thankfully, Alpha messed up his touch, right? So they didn't have to worry about it. But let's say Alpha gets a better touch here. And, like, there is a goal-scoring opportunity for Alpha right here. If he double taps that on the left wall, he scores that unless Seiko has to do a crazy touch. And this is where Seiko and Monkey Moon get left in positions to have to do these crazy, like, backboard read defensive touches that are tough. So let's go back and watch what did Rise do in this situation. And this is where I want to talk about the rhythm, right? Monkey Moon here, boom. Rise comes in, bangs ball, right? And then goes forward. So, like, it's like Monkey Moon here loses ball to Zen. Monkey Moon is taking a safe wide rotation. Rise comes in, bangs ball. So now Rise is first person, but Monkey Moon's not back. So they're currently playing without a third. Seiko is essentially the second. And because Radosin comes in and intercepts it, Rise has given away the ball, used a load of boost, and sent himself in front of the ball. And part of the reason why that works against other teams is not many teams are moving fast enough to deal with this, but because of all of Vitality were moving so fast, it's near impossible for Rise to go forward and bump him. Like, you see how quick Alpha was up to that. Now, maybe you could say Rise's impending bumping might have meant Alpha messed up his touch. I think that is a realistic case where you could say that's true. But yeah, I just didn't like the way Rise was rotating forward, as I felt like it was creating situations where BDS were on the back foot too often. Especially when Seiko already does it. And this is something that Liquid had to work on with Oski and Atto. They were rotating forward too often. It put a lot of pressure on a Chronic. Now, Monkey Moon is a better solo back person than a Chronic is. It fits his tool set a lot better of, like, low boost touches, reading the play, that kind of thing. But still, it just doesn't, it's not a consistent way to play. And I think one of the big things I noticed from Liquid, from the stuff I saw, was they fell back into some old habits of overcommitment, which led them to concede a lot. But like, you see right here, Alpha's mistake, great 50 from Rise. This is where it does work out, right? Like where you can, like, because in this situation, Rise is the first person as opposed to the second person, it's different, right? Yeah, Oski chills now more and lets Atto go on. That is true. That is something that happened. So you can see the difference here is this is as a first person Rise has done this, because both Monkey Moon and Seiko are behind him. So this is where that disruptive upfield playstyle can work. So I think just recognizing the difference in those situations can be huge. And this is my main feedback for SSG and Optic when I analyze their gameplay, was that upfield bumpy stuff is great, but not when it's done at the wrong times, right? And so maybe that was a high pressure thing. Maybe that was the pressure of the final that got to their decision making a little bit and caused them to do that. Maybe it was a bit of inefficiency from everyone on the pitch that made Rise's normal read of the play slightly off, right? Because, you know, like, also you see stuff like that, like, see how fast Vitality recover? It throws off Rise's, I'm going to go steal some boost, I'm going to disrupt the play mindset. But again, the same kind of thing has just happened here, right? Rise has come in, dived in as a second person, and this was the main thing, like, the second person dive-ins were quite frequent, and the reason why they get away with it is because of this man here, right? Monkey able to come in and clean up. And so this was a rare Zen mistake here, I believe. Alpha overcommitted. Zen just needed to take more time up here, but this was, yeah, just a Zen mistake. So again, Vitality are conceding frequently, except for that last one, which I think Rise created. The goals we've seen so far have mostly been through Vitality overcommitting in like a rare mistake, and BDS are very good at punishing those in those situations, right? Yeah, Radosin, I don't know, I think he thought Alpha was getting the ball here, right? And so he was driving forward and then got bumped, right? Like, it's basically Alpha's messed up here. Radosin, he doesn't, like, that's an Alpha doesn't miss those normally, right? So that's just, again, like, you have to play like you trust, and like Alpha just misread that. It is what it is. So like, this is a good bump from Seiko here. Bit of a mistake from, so yeah, so that's just like a rare mistake. So yeah, I think the goal beforehand was earned by BDS. That goal was a bit of a mistake from Vitality, but BDS are very good at punishing mistakes. That's what they do best, which is why their playstyle works so well. Ooh, fun little fake kickoff. That's where BDS worked really well on LAN. They played pretty consistently. They punished a lot of mistakes. That's what they do best. So that's how they got to the final. And when they played Vitality before in the upper bracket, there was a lot more mistakes from Vitality. So see the one alone situation, very frequent here for BDS. Like, just Seiko wanted to catch that there, didn't quite catch it. Monkey Moon, poor positioning. But again, you just see the rhythm, like 1-2 out the game, leave one alone. And so when it goes wrong, they get caught off by it. Really good setup by Alpha. I back Rise to be able to get that, but it was hit very hard with a dodge, and I don't think people quite realize how much a dodge can deceive the defender. Like, that sudden acceleration is hard to read. Like, it's easy to read for us in hindsight because we know where it's going, but reading it off the wall can be pretty tough. So yeah, so good play by Vitality there, punishing the overcommitment of BDS. Nice little play by Alpha. Good block by Rise. Zen being a bit cheeky, taking the player out of the game. Good attempt. Like, Zen Almost create a goal there. Yeah, that's classic Zen right there. Waiting for the loose ball. You're going to see Monkey Moon, mistouch, Zen beats most people to the loose ball. On this occasion, Seiko reads it well, so there's no threat, but you can see the recovery speed of him back into the play is good. So there's very little threat, so it's super efficient. Again, trying to play off that loose ball. Good idea by Seiko. Radosin bat the miss. Fair play. Did he bat the miss here? Let's have a little watch. Ooh! There's a confidence. It's like, yeah, hit that. Go on. I dare you. Good play by Rise there. So you can see, like, when Rise is first, it works really well. But then, like, you see what happens if the second person messes up. Is look how long the Rise rotation is, right? Like, it just takes forever to get back. And then, like, Seiko's out the play for a while as well. And a lot of this comes down to they often make plays with low boost, right? And, like, you can see here just little things like Alpha grabbing that boost quicker. That's a small little margin that works in Vitality's favor. But, yeah, like, they often make these challenges with low boost. I'd almost prefer here, if it wasn't for the structure they're currently in, because Seiko still not behind the ball, just about behind the ball here. I'd almost prefer for Rise to, like, fake that, right? And just go for the boost grab. But because their structure is so poor, they can't force as much as other teams. They have to challenge a lot of time. And then you see this is the classic situation. Monkey Moon alone at the back, and Vitality should have scored here, right? They should have punished them there. So you can see the same consistent stories as BDS just finding themselves to at the back. And, like, again, like, look how long it takes for Rise to get back. Monkey Moon has to come in delayed, and then it just allows Vitality to get in position. And it is just the individual ability of all three of these players that's allowing them to get away with it a little bit. And I think it's because Seiko and Rise in particular are just a little bit too close to the play. So it means that they can only go, like, fast, boom, boom, rhythm. And if they mess that up, they get screwed, right? Again, both of them committed. Monkey Moon alone at the back. Like, Monkey Moon does a really good job of it, but it's this same kind of, like, this situation here is far too often, right? And they do a good job of getting themselves out of the situation, but it's like they very rarely have, like, a consistent sort of conveyor belt of challenge game. It feels like a wave of, we're going to try something now, let's recover. We're going to try something now, let's recover, right? Because they do get a bit overcommitted with some of their options. I like this, I like this. Good defense. Beautiful free jump from Alpha. Rise dives in. Same kind of thing here, right? They just don't have... Look at this rhythm here, right? We're going to watch this from this point of view here, right? Seiko goes for a solo play. Monkey Moon and Rise are literally, like, in the same position, right? So Seiko doing a play up here. Monkey Moon covering the loose ball here. Rise covering the loose ball here, right? So they don't have this area covered very well. They don't have this area covered very well. They don't have anything in their own half covered very well with a big clear. So they just get too close. And then what you notice here, if the ball drops out, Monkey Moon's up. If that gets challenged, Rise has to go up because he's so close to the play that if he doesn't go, they're in a bad position, right? Because they're directly on top of the play. And then consequently, Seiko with no boost, after just doing a really nice solo play, his two teammates are in front of him, so he has to get, like, a dreamy touch. And, like, what we watch from Seiko here is, like, he did the right thing, just mis-executed it. but they put so much pressure on themselves to have to mechanic their way out of a situation. And that's not even that mechanical, right? That's literally just boom the ball in the corner, kind of hope for the best. But yeah, they find themselves in these positions of overcommitment where the one at the back has to do something miraculous or dive in at the right time. Yeah. They almost have the same rhythm as a heart. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Yeah. Whereas you see with Vitality, their rhythm's a lot more like, I'm gonna go. Now I'm gonna go. Now I'm gonna go. Right? It's like a much more like flowy rhythm where the BDS one is doo-dum. Let's recover. Doo-dum. Let's recover. Yeah, you're right. I normally go like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 for Vitality. And then the rhythm of BDS is more like a 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, you know? Right, last little replay we watch is going to be the final. Because I want to see that Seiko moment. I want to see what happens with the miss there. But I think it's fair to say Alpha had an absolute unbelievable series. But this game was the main reason we focused on him so much. Like, his role is super important in this team. Zen was the MVP just based off of their impact, like the impact touches they're making. And I don't think people quite realize how impactful his lack of going is. Like, I say that as he literally fakes. I mean, he didn't have to do anything here as Alpha created that goal. Is this another BDS overcommit? Yep, sort of. But Zen doesn't go unless he has to. And that's the way they play allows for that, right? He very much plays off the ball, waits for his opportunity to come in. One of the best players at doing that is someone like a Cash or... trying to think of other players. Daniel used to do it quite a lot. It's that sort of like sit off the ball, and then when the ball comes loose, you want your superstar player to be on it, right? That was really smart by Rise. I like this, actually. This is Icy Rise. You see, in situations like this, look, I know it's like it's easy for me to say it, but like the fact that Rise even went for that, BDS should be confident enough that Rise can just drive at that ball and not go, right? You see what I mean? Like, in the end, the outcome is much the same, but I just feel like Rise shouldn't be in the air at this point, right? Like, Rise shouldn't even jump there. He should just go back down to the ground and then just be in a better position sooner. I know it worked out in the end, but the fact that he went, it could have created much more chaos, right? If that ball pinged out with a 50-50, it could have created more chaos that goes in favor of Vitality. But yeah, a very good play from Rise. I think maybe one of the two defenders could have just gone. Yeah, like hindsight, just go, but it's what it is, isn't it? Yeah, like Alpha gets a lot of praise because we see him going so often and making these amazing reads. But like, he also just misses the ball a lot, which is what his role is, right? He's very comfortable going and not hitting the ball, just forcing opponents to be uncomfortable. But the opposite is true of Zen. He's very comfortable not going and then consequently makes much more impact touches. But yeah, it seemed like in this game, Alpha had some really impactful touches that led to goals. So a lot of people remember him having a better series than he actually did. That was really good read by Radosin. Like, that's very reactive there. Huge reactions. Yeah, Monkey Moon was in very uncomfortable position. Like I said, I think the panic of the final and how good Vitality were playing caused BDS to rush their touches a little bit and just meant they were playing in a chaotic environment. They didn't trust each other really. They were wasting a lot of boost rushing back into the play because they just didn't trust. Vitality were dominating the boost, so in situations where typically BDS would have boost, they'd have it. They were making more mistakes because they were rushing. So like the whole thing was just Vitality and BDS's panic caused them to lose this. But you can see again, this is what I'm talking about with the rhythm, right? Like Seiko here, like made a play. Like, why is Rise hit this? Like, Rise just doesn't need to hit that, right? Like, it's just pure like I'm going to speed up the plays, try and make Vitality uncomfortable. And then consequently, it just makes them uncomfortable. And they have to make a miracle save there. Like, again, like, why have you flown up to that? Like, you're beating nobody to the ball. You're just taking yourself out of the play. So it just felt like Rise was almost like trying to play too fast. Or he tried doing it again, didn't he? Cheeky little bugger. And like, it's really hard to know how much of that is down to Rise himself, how much of it was a game plan they misunderstood, how much of it was in comms, how much of it was a mental thing, how much of it was a confidence thing. It's really hard to know. But it definitely just felt like their rhythm was a little bit off. Really nice play here, switching up the defense a lot. Yeah, Radosin is just beautiful as a teammate in the cam, like seeing how much he is making him feel confident. Oh yeah, of course, pressure from Vitality. I mentioned that a few times. It's definitely a big factor. Like the fact that if you don't go, you might just let Zen have space. Like that is scary. The idea of if you don't go, Zen might get the ball in space. But realistically, you've got to do that sometimes because otherwise you're just draining yourselves and not draining them at all. But it's easy to say that. I just know that this is the effect that BDS have had on people in the past. I know it made a lot of teams panic where actually the best thing to do is just to stay calm. But yeah, this was a really nice goal from Alpha. Like, Alpha's so good from the ceiling. Like, that's his strongest area. He's so good at resetting on the ceiling and so good at doing lots of touch off the ceiling. Radosin the modern turbo? Yeah, could be. XQC could have done that. That's the one. You still think BDS are favourite for Worlds? I think if Vitality hadn't won this, they'd have been favourites. I think Vitality is still favourites for Worlds, but there is a bit of a curse in Rocket League that people just don't win 2 events back to back. But I do believe Vitality, just the way they're playing, if they play their best, they are in control of every series they play in, right? But like these kinds of goals from BDS, they are earned off of mistakes, right? You see, like this situation, Radosin has been given the ball for free and he's rushed it, and Seiko's punished him for it, right? By bumping him off, Monkey Moon gets to set up the quick pass and it's a good finish. Well played, BDS. But in this situation, this is a Vitality forced error that's led to it. And like, I'm going to be honest, if this is how they need to score, like Rise right now, this situation to score like that, that is not a good way to score a goal. Like that is very all in. And of course they're, you know, it's the do or die moment. They're going to force all in goals. But if I was a coach and I saw my team getting scored on like that, I wouldn't be too concerned because they're not earning their goals. They're being given goals through Vitality's mistakes and then requiring all 3 players to score it in a way that is potentially overcommitting, right? Like if a save happens here or Rise gets intercepted, like I think Zen, like if Zen, rather than rotating out to get boost, looks to just cut through the middle there, he could have intercepted that ball, right? So like there is a world there where Vitality literally just intercept that and score a counter-attack, right? So it's like this kind of offense is counter-attackable. Obviously with all of the goals that they're scoring, they're executing beautifully well. Like the same thing was true of this goal here, right? Where this is a counter-attackable goal, I believe. Like Monkey Moon to Seiko, back to Monkey Moon. Any save here, any big clear, this is potential for a counter-attack, right? So like what I'm seeing is the goals that BDS are going for require excellent execution, which they're all very good at. So like I would, to any old random player who's looking to replicate a team play style of any top team, I wouldn't recommend BDS to most people because the reason why it works is based on the ability of these players and not based off of the structure so much right now, in my opinion anyway. I think they're scoring through overcommitment and recovering through disadvantaged situations. Like, I love the way Vitality are just comfortable with the idea of letting the ball bounce. You know, they're just happy to flop the ball and let the opponents just give them a chance. Oh, this was gorgeous. Alpha. I didn't know what he was going to do after that first touch when I watched this live. I was like, no ways he get that again. But again, Radosin playing selflessly. And just, yeah, gets that flip reset into it. So we'll just watch the Seiko mistake. And then we'll catch the final 2 goals and then we'll call it there. But the main learning from this is the way Vitality play is very reliable. Like, they're playing a game plan that I can see being done over and over and over again if they play confidently and, you know, they keep doing what they're doing. It's fast, so therefore it can't get punished by teams going faster than them. It's efficient, so it can't be getting punished by inefficient decision making. It's like allowing each of them to shine, doing what they do best. So it's not like they're being forced to play a way that they don't want to play. And so it's reproducible. I do have concerns around BDS that this could be a play style that leads them to flop out of a tournament. That is tough, isn't it? I can see what Seiko was worried about was that Zen was going to get there in time, but he literally just had to leave that, and that's a goal. And then it gets counter-attacked on as well. And that's what I was saying, right? Literally said it about the last goal, is that if it fails or it gets saved, you're at threat of being counter-attacked. And why is that? Rise pushed up too far. So, like, this is what I was saying about the BDS playstyle, is it's like, it's very over-committy. And it just doesn't need to be. Like, there is a way to structure their current offense with the off-the-ball players to allow them to be able to just not overcommit and have more of a, like, 3-0 game plan and less of this, like, weird, let's win, like, 3-2 game plan, 4-2. Monkey's still a top 2 player in the world? I think top 3. Yeah, I think so. I think this was just a bit of an underperformance from him in the final, and I think a lot of that just came down to the way the team was playing, just didn't allow him to have any space that he wanted to do. But yeah, like, Vitality have got a very reproducible game plan which fits all of their strengths very well, and that's the big thing for me, right? Is that the roles that they each play in the team make complete sense for them as individuals, right? So Zen sits in space off the ball with 100 boost. Any loose ball he's able to turn into something creative. That suits his set of tools. Alpha, he's always been very good at chasing. The team allows him to chase, allows him to be aggressive, allows him to be disruptive. Playstyle suits him. Radosin, very smart player, reading the play, looking to just fill in those gaps. Currently, that's what he has to do in this team for them to do best, and it suits him very well. And he's very selfless in the way he plays. That suits him perfectly. So this whole team are all playing their roles perfectly, whereas I think on BDS, watching that gameplay, I think both Seiko and Rise want to go upfield, and one of them needs to not go upfield as much for them to be more reliable. I know they got to the final, but I think when they lean back into their typical habits, actually, let's have a look and see if this is, if their stats showed the same throughout, or whether the finals is a extreme example of them. Positioning. Yeah, you can see, like, typically it's more like this, right? Where it's 76% for Monkey Moon, 69 for Rise, 69 for Seiko and Rise. And this is probably, if you exclude the final, which was, so the final was over 1/3 of the games. This was 65, this was 65, this was 72. I think they were getting back more often. Like, Monkey Moon would have probably been closer to 77. Seiko would have been closer to 71. Rise closer to 71 if you exclude the grand finals. I would say, based off of the maths in my head. So yeah, they just need to focus on getting into those good habits of getting back and not overcommitting as often. The things that they're doing are fine. Like, we saw Rise's 50 follow through, bump, rotate back wide and bump on the other side kind of strategy work. but it works when the second man then doesn't dive in. So they're just all still adjusting to that overcommitment. But then when it got into the final, pressure was on, crowd was against them, Vitality playing well. All of those things brought out those bad habits, and we saw the worst of BDS in the tournament in that final, I believe. So if they want to make sure they do well at Worlds, they need to be able to just keep refining what they're doing and make sure that it doesn't become a big problem. But yeah, Vitality looked amazing, and I'm excited to see them succeed at Worlds. I mean, I think they're still favourites to win it, even though they've just won the last event. They've not dropped an event, so in theory, they should be able to just carry that on. And if they do, that would be probably the most incredible performance of any Rocket League team in the history of the open circuit. So let me know what you thought of the whole analysis. Let me know if you've got any questions in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed the analysis of the grand final from the Spring Major.